Welcome back to the Freelance Friday podcast. Let's talk about the thing that's really holding you back from creating the content that you want to be creating, that you maybe should be creating if you're looking to grow your clientele or establish authority in your space. And I'll tell you the thing that has been preventing me from creating the content because yes, I do still struggle with these things 100%. Today's episode is sponsored by our friends at Metricool. Be sure to use the code Latasha at the link in the show notes to get 30 days free on any of their premium plans. This conversation actually started on a mastermind call I was on earlier today, so big shout out to Priscilla for literally transcribing the answer, the little pep talk I gave for somebody in the group, because that's become my episode outline, so I appreciate that. The first thing that I am going to recommend to you, if you are struggling to create the content that you really want to be creating, is ask yourself what actually are your barriers? What are the things that are realistically holding you back? Generally speaking, when it comes to both myself and my clients and the people I work with, I see one of two things popping up as the most realistic reasons. Now, I see a lot of reasons that are just kind of excuses, to be honest. Oh, I don't have the right camera. We all have an iPhone or similar, right? That's literally enough to make a video. Or, I don't know how. We literally have YouTube. You're literally on youtube.com. Like, yes, it's helpful if you want to get a particular look or feel or sound or whatever. Yeah, of course, look up those specifics. But 9 times out of 10, those are kind of excuses for most people. The two that are a little bit more real, a little deeper down, are number one, time. Time is a hard thing to create. You can't create it. We can't make more of it. We can't buy more of it. It's a hard thing to find. And secondly, it's rejection. It's fear. It's, inadequacy, feelings of inadequacy. And those are the deeper things that are really, really hard to reckon with and deal with and attack. And they're ones that I still feel for sure. I don't always feel like I know what's going on or like I look my best or feel my best or people are going to like what I have to say. And that is really scary. But I have found getting to the root of those issues, getting to the root of those fears, it doesn't make them go away, but it helps me approach those problems in a different way. For example, I know that I have like some rejection sensitivity that just stems from feeling like an outsider as a kid, not really having a lot of friends, not really having great social skills. And so that pops up in content creation. It also pops up in my personal life and my friendships. Oh, I don't want to text first and look weird, or I don't want to ask that person to hang out and get rejected because that's going to hurt. And so those feelings are still there. Those feelings still exist when I turn on the camera and have a feeling people aren't going to like what I say. I still feel that, but I can at least tell my brain, hey, that's like your rejection sensitivity talking. You need to push through it. That's not the baseline of like how most people feel. Most people just post the thing and go on about their day and not be dwelling on it. That doesn't mean that you are less good than them or less deserving or anything like that, but it just means you might have to push a little harder in that area. I mean, I'm not a therapist, but that's what what works for me at least. So figure out what genuinely are your barriers, what is holding you back, so that you can kind of try to hone in on that a little bit. The second thing to think about is, okay, what is the bare minimum that I need to do to make a dent, to make an impact, in whatever it is that I'm looking to do. So if you are, let's say, a service provider, as a lot of us are who tune in, and you want to get more leads for your business, there are a million different ways that we could do that. I could tell you to do Google ads and Facebook ads and Instagram reels and YouTube and podcasts and blah, 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 blah. And of course, if I had unlimited budget and unlimited time to work with you, I'm probably going to say you should do a lot of those things. We should be posting videos like every day. That's my wish list. That's a nice to have. But most people don't start that way. Most people cannot start that way. You have to start somewhere. So 9 times out of 10, I'm going to tell my clients, commit to a weekly series or a weekly piece of content. If you are listening to this podcast, if you are watching this podcast, you have time for a weekly video or podcast or blog post or email campaign of your own. You do. And it pains me to say it because, of course, I want you to be here. But if you are given the choice, if you're faced with the decision, I'm going to tell you to create, not consume my content. Take this 30 minutes, 15 minutes, however long this episode's going to be, take that and make your own dang thing. And come back when you need some help, when you get stuck, when you need some advice, or when you've gotten more business that allows you to take more time off from said content. Most of us, if not all of us, who are here right now have 15, 30, 45 minutes, an hour a week. Put it on your calendar, commit to yourself. If you go to the gym an hour a week or an hour a day, if you watch TV an hour a week or an hour a day, podcasts, right? You can do this for yourself. And a lot of people say, Latasha, what do you mean? What can I meaningfully create in an hour a week? Well, step 3, the third thing to think about is, what is the simplest thing that I can do? What is the minimum viable product that I need to create to make something that is meaningful, that communicates my message, that establishes my authority? And most of the time, what I recommend to people is to create a video, a longer form video series. Now, you can literally open up Zoom and use your webcam. Maybe get a mic if you want to get fancy. I just did a video all about my favorite mics that I'll link for you here. That's all you need. Genuinely. I cannot tell you how many YouTube channels I watch, how many podcasts I watch that are amazing, that get so many views, that are filmed on webcams. Now, of course, we want to improve our quality. Of course, we want to have the beautiful, cinematic, polished, professional look. You'll get there, but you're not going to get there if you just continue listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, and not creating them yourself. You're not going to have a place to improve. You're not going to learn the tools, the systems. You're not going to get good at your own delivery, which is more important than any piece of equipment. So you've just got to start with what you have, truly. And yeah, I think recording on Zoom, riffing for 20 minutes, turning that into a video for YouTube. Now, if you get good quality audio, you can also turn that into a podcast. And now that you have a long form video, well, you also have short form cut downs. You can post that on Instagram. You can post it on TikTok. You can post it on LinkedIn. You can post it on Threads. You can transcribe your video and use it as an email campaign, as a caption, as text posts for platforms like LinkedIn, Threads, Twitter, etc. There are so many possibilities that come from just 1 hour long session. And you really don't have to edit. Like, edit out your coughs, your sneezes, whatever, maybe. That's pretty much it. That is the minimum viable product. Now, I get it. Not everybody wants to necessarily do long form video podcasts, and that's cool if that doesn't make sense for your niche, but figure out what the minimum is. For a lot of people, creating that Zoom call podcast is the simplest thing. But for you, maybe that's just incorporating your content creation into your lifestyle by going live as you do your makeup, going live on Instagram as you do your makeup and talking and creating something that you can probably download and repurpose as well in that way. Maybe that's posting a daily story, on your iPhone, sitting at your desk. It's just right there. It's super easy. You don't need to learn any new tech. Maybe that's writing a blog post or repurposing blog posts from videos that you already have created or from ideas that you've already been thinking about, right? Figure out what is going to be the simplest thing that is naturally going to integrate into your lifestyle. This is really, really important. Just like a new gym routine or healthy eating or anything like that, you want to change your lifestyle. You don't want to go on a workout binge or have a crash diet, right? Because we all know what happens when we run into that. We feel really great for, maybe a few weeks or however long, and then eventually we fall off because we can't realistically sustain that level of intensity in workouts or eating the way that we're doing or whatever. We've got to still enjoy life. We've got to enjoy the process, and we've got to incorporate those practices into our day-to-day. An illustration, something that I've been doing is, I've got my fancy podcast set up, right? I've got a big camera. I've got, all the lighting. I set the lights down low. We make things glow back here. It's a vibe. I like it. I'm really proud of how it looks, honestly, most times. But lately, it's just been feeling like a lot. I just feel like I'm strapped for time a little bit in some weeks, and I've been going through a lot in my life, and it's just like exhausting, And so I was like, why am I resenting making videos and podcasts because this is my favorite part of my job. And it was because of that. The freaking Canon Camera Connect app hasn't been working. And I'm like, that's why I'm resenting this. It's because of all the extras. It's because of all the setup and the tech and the overwhelm. And I just get annoyed. So, what can I do to simplify? I'm going to make the simplest version of a podcast that I can. Of course, we're going to pull out all the stops when we really feel like we've got an episode that needs it, or when I'm really just in the mood and feeling good, feeling great, looking great, all the things. Sure, we'll take the time. But right now, I've just been using this little monopod and my good old Nikon Z30. And like, yeah, it's not as crispy and clean. Actually, it's a little crispier, but it's not as cinematic as my typical podcast set. But does it need to be? Does it need to be to have a simple talking head video where I give you a little pep talk and encourage you to create the content? I don't think it needs to be, but maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Let's take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Metricool Premium. If you don't already know, Metricool is your all-in-one social media management platform that I personally use for my business, and it's a must-have tool in the marketing space. And while they do have a free forever plan, their pro plan unlocks valuable features so you can grow and maintain your online presence for yourself, your clients, or even your own business. You can choose from starter, advanced, or enterprise level plans. There really is a plan for everyone. Some of the amazing premium features that are available across the plans are management of multiple brands, analysis of up to 100 competitors, customizable links for any of your social media bios, downloadable reports that you can automate monthly, a hashtag search engine for Instagram and TikTok. You can assign team member roles and client access. You can integrate with Data Studio for further analysis and so much more. So be sure to create your free account today and upgrade to premium. While you're at it, you can use code Latasha for 30 days free on any premium plan. Test out the program and become a Metricooler. Thanks so much to Metricool for sponsoring today's episode. But that's step 4. That's the 4th thing I want you to think about is banish the idea of perfection. First of all, what I have learned over 11 years of creating content is that perfect is different like every year. Okay. Some people argue that sit down talking head podcasts are old school and boring, and that's not what people want. Some people comment on how professional my setup looks. It is such a subjective thing. So first of all, find your style and find your version of good, not perfect. Find your version of good. What is the quality that you are happy with? What is the look, the feel, the sound, all of that you are happy with and that you feel reflects your personal style that you're trying to communicate? That's first. But secondly, just understand that not everything is even going to be your version of good or perfect. There are going to be some things that just kind of are okay. And again, just like you were never going to get there if you don't start, you're never going to get better if you don't start. Look back at any of your favorite creators' first pieces of content. You can look back at mine if you want to. It's pretty bad. It is pretty bad. We've got a point and shoot camera. We've got no external audio. My head's cut off. I'm in a dark room. It's not great. It really is not. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be better or to wanting to create good, beautiful things. I certainly do. But, sometimes I create things that are better and more beautiful than others. I was on a webinar recently with Thinkific, and the purpose of the talk was just to kind of talk about how I built my online digital products business. And a lot of that was talking about YouTube and how YouTube is responsible for the majority of my leads to my courses and things like that. And there was a comment that I didn't even notice when we were on the call, but somebody else sent me a DM about it. And we're like, that was a kind of a rude question that guy asked. And I want to address it because he said, what if I'm not as physically attractive as Latasha? And I actually don't think that was really a rude question. I think it was phrased weird, and I would never say that about myself. Or, I think it's a weird question, but I think it's a valid question. And I think what he was actually saying is that is not an area where he feels super confident or where he feels he can really draw strength from. And we can argue whether or not that's an area that I feel confident or where I can draw strength from. But I also won't be defensive and can acknowledge that I exist in a smaller body and, have certain features that conform to a typical American beauty standard. These are just like realities, whether or not we want to debate subjectiveness of beauty or whatever. But that's a real thing. That's a real fear. That's a real concern. And it's one that a lot of people have. And I think they get shamed out of saying it a little bit of like, oh, nobody cares. No, nobody's paying attention to that. And I've said that before too. And I think that was a little bit of defensiveness, frankly, because while I don't think most people actually do care in that degree, I know because I just had my ugliest year. I hope that doesn't offend anyone, but I had a year where I felt really uncomfortable in my body and in my face because of some health things that were going on. And I really struggled to show up every day. And I got one comment that was actually a comment of concern. It was rude, but they were asking if I was okay. 99% of people either didn't notice, didn't care, or just, weren't rude enough to say anything. So I do think it's true that most people don't really pay attention, but I also acknowledge that feeling confident in what you are delivering and what you are creating, whether that is yourself, feeling confident in yourself, whether that's feeling confident in your set, feeling confident in your skill set, it impacts how we show up. It impacts how we deliver. And even though people weren't saying, oh my gosh, Latasha, you look weird, you look ugly, you look hideous, it showed in my content. I wasn't happy, confident me. I wasn't. I can see it. And I think a lot of people did see that. They did feel that. And so I just bring this weird, kind of rude question up because it's a valid concern. And my answer to that is to do the things that are going to make you feel confident on camera, if that is what you're choosing to do. When I was first starting, like getting really serious about video podcasts and stuff and wanted to be like really professional, that meant I would get a blowout before I sat down and batch recorded videos. It just made me feel better. Like my hair is totally staticky right now because I just blow dried my hair. These are things that I notice, you probably don't notice. And a blowout would have made me feel more confident. I used Rent the Runway to rent nice pieces of clothing to make myself feel more confident. Again, I'm wearing a hoodie today. If you are watching on YouTube, don't care today. But a few years ago, those little confidence boosts helped me get me closer to actually publishing. And also the last thing I'll say is video is not for everybody. Audio is not for everybody. I grew up with a speech impediment. I still struggle sometimes as I just do the loudest lisp. I still struggle sometimes with my speech. I have to slow down and like really think about it. Maybe audio first wouldn't be the best format for me. It definitely wouldn't be the best format for me 10, 15 years ago. So figure out what your zone of genius, what your competitive advantage, however it is that you want to look at it, what that is. Maybe you're a fantastic writer. Maybe you're a fantastic speaker. Maybe you're great at bringing together people and building community. Maybe you're really funny, maybe there's some quirk about you that is very memorable. Like figure that out and lean into that. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a YouTube video where you're polished and professional looking and have perfect hair and makeup, right? Figure out the format that works for you and then just do the thing. That's the goal, is just to do the thing. All right. I hope this episode was helpful. A little bit of a pep talk for you and for me. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear from you in the comments, really and truly. Leave me a comment on YouTube, subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, anywhere where you get your podcasts. And I will talk to you in my next one. Bye.